Hello and welcome to our webinar, Series Nonfiction. I'm Julia Smith, Senior Editor for Books for Youth at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions and will pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select Show or Hide Captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Andy Dean, Content Marketing Manager at Nomad Press, Jen Jensen, Publisher of Bearport Publishing, Maureen McMullen, Marketing Specialist at Bellwether, Laura Villano, Vice President of Sales at Jump, and Anna Erickson, Vice President of Sales at The Creative Company. First, we will hear from Andy Dean. Andy has written 22 nonfiction books, plus a picture book on mental health called Mama's Days. She works as a children's book editor and marketer at Nomad Press and visits schools and libraries around the country to talk about science, writing, poetry, mental wellness, and anything else kids want to know. Andy lives in rural New Hampshire with her husband, 3 sons, and too many pets. Thank you for joining us, Andy.
Thank you, Julia. I appreciate that. Yes, so I am the content marketing manager here at Nomad, but it's a small company, so we all kind of do everything. You'll notice later on some of my slides, I am the writer of some of the books I'll be presenting today, which is, can be kind of awkward, but maybe not so much. So sure, if I could have the next slide, that'd be wonderful. Okay, books from Nomad Press. We include different elements because in every book we produce, we try to reach all different kinds of learners. Lots of kids learn through text and it comes very easily to them. Some kids learn better through images, both illustrations and photographs. Hands-on activities are a huge part of all books that we produce. Some kids really, they just need that tactile experience. I have 3 sons, like I said, and one of those kids was just very much, he chooses not to read books even now that he's a little bit older, but you put something in front of him and he could learn how to put it together, take it apart, and that's how he learned. And so we want to reach those learners as well. Videos, we have QR codes in most of our books for the older series that lead to videos, quality video content that might lead to interviews with experts in the field or primary sources that can be found online, anything like that that will get kids engaged with our books. We strive to meet every kind of reader, every kind of learner. Next slide, please. These are the series we're currently pursuing. We have picture books for grades 5 to 8, Explore Your World for the younger elementary students. We have Build It Yourself books for the older elementary into early middle school. And then our Inquire and Investigate series reaches that upper middle school, even into high school. So those are our series that we are currently publishing with. Next slide, please. Okay, Keystone Species. This is the book we have coming out in our Build It Yourself series for ages 9 to 12. It's coming out in October. Actually, it's probably already hitting shelves in classrooms as we speak. I love this book. The author is Laura Perdue. She's written several books for us. And recently, I actually interviewed her for a school library journal article, and she explained how she got the idea for this book. And she was doing some research and came across this term, keystone species. She could not believe she'd never heard this before. And when she brought it to me, I couldn't believe I had never heard it before. And it's kind of revolutionary. You know, we learn about food webs and food chains and biodiversity and how every species is interconnected and dependent on each other. But the idea that there are some species that are actually more important than others in an ecosystem, it's a little bit mind-blowing. At least I find it mind-blowing. It's kind of a, you know, the science nerds in me is coming out. So this book explores that theme, and we meet some of those species. We meet sharks, gray wolves, beavers, American alligators, bees, flying foxes, wildebeests, bison, and coral. You know, when we were first talking about the book, I was trying to, you know, pare down the chapters to get it under that 132 pages. And I was like, coral, I don't think we should include coral. Why do we need coral? And we went back and forth and back and forth. And finally she asked me, what do you have against coral? And I was like, coral doesn't have eyes. I don't think we need a book about it. And she's like, nope, that's not a good enough reason. We got to do the coral. And I'm so glad we did, because coral is so fascinating and so important to the oceans. Next slide, please. So let's look at a couple of interior spreads in here. You can see all of the vocabulary words are bolded on the page and then defined on the page in the words to know box. They're also defined in the glossary in the back matter. We have sidebars on almost every spread. We feature little, very quick bios of different scientists working in the field. There's one there about Bob Payne, who really came up with the concept of keystone species. You can see on this spread, we have a couple of QR codes that lead to, I'm not sure where this one leads to. It's a primary source, possibly a video. We also offer keyword, you know, potential keywords to search by, because of course URLs, they change. We cannot keep up with that. And kids need to know how to search the internet, right? So this is another way of offering them some of that ability. Next slide, please. So this one shows our graphic novel style illustrations. In every chapter, we have usually 2 spreads, sometimes only one spread, with, you know, a sort of a storyline and characters that are going through and acting out that storyline. This is our illustrator, Lex Cornell, which is a fantastic illustrator. They live out in Colorado, and we do a lot with them. They're very talented. We also have fun facts. You can see one of the fun facts on this page. Just little, you know, little hooks to engage readers. And there's also essential questions. So every chapter begins and ends with the same essential question. So we ask kids to hear the question, think about it as they read through the chapter, and then at the end, they can answer the question. And it's just another way of helping them realize that, you know, this is knowledge that is useful once the page has been turned too. You know, it's not just, you're not just parroting what you've heard in the book, but you are gaining that knowledge and applying it to your own world as well. Next spread, please. Okay, this is a couple of our activities. Again, every book has some hands-on activities or some research activities. Some of them are thought experiments. We offer a list of supplies and a list of steps, and then sort of an extra try this kind of extension for the activity. Next slide, please. Another interior. So our activities are sometimes illustrated with line drawings if they need a little bit extra comprehensive help. And also you can see here is our text to world. So at the end of every chapter, we ask kids to think beyond the book, to think what they're learning, how does that apply to their own lives? So we have a little text to world connection in every chapter as well. Next slide. Maps. So we love including maps in our books whenever it makes sense. Reading maps is a skill we want kids to learn. And just to note too, so every chapter we are discussing these species, and we talk about in a lot of cases, these species have been removed from their ecosystems, and that's why we realized that, oh, these were extremely important species. We talk about why these species get removed from their ecosystems. A lot of times it has something to do with humans, whether it's through overhunting or pollution. Sometimes climate change has an effect. And a lot of times there are conservation efforts to reintroduce those species into critical ecosystems. So we do sort of follow the whole arc. What happens when a species is removed? What happens when it goes back? The wolves in Yellowstone are a great example. It's also an example of ongoing science. We want to make sure that kids know that science changes. We keep learning. Scientists make new discoveries. Okay, next slide, please. Picture book science. Okay, these are out next month. We have 3 new picture books coming, and this is an extension of a series that has been ongoing, picture book science adaptations. And just to note too, we publish paperback and hardcover simultaneously as well. That's important. Next slide, please. So we had some previous books published. I think these were published 2 years ago, in which we explored adaptations in bees, animals, reptiles, birds, fish, mammals, amphibians. And now we've gone on to plants, microbes, and insects. Next slide, please. So there's the cover for plants. Next slide. Okay, every picture book we have starts with a poem. We love to make that literacy connection. And it's just kind of a fun way to, show that science and literature aren't necessarily separate. We can combine them. Some kids learn best through rhymes or poetries or metaphors and stuff like that. Great, let's put it in the science book. We love that. Next slide, please. So these are, again, illustrated by Lex Cornell, our illustrator in Colorado. I love their style. She kind of gets up close and she zooms out, and some of her styles are very funny too. Again, so every vocabulary word in here is bolded in the text and defined in the glossary in the back matter. Next up, next slide. Of course, carnivorous plants. What kid does not love carnivorous plants? Next spread. Great. So this is just more of the plant adaptations. We have little call outs, the thing about the nectar guides, not quite fun facts, but just a little bit of an oomph to those facts. Next slide. Microbes. So this was fun to work on. Next slide, please. Now, kids love learning about microbes on a few different levels. It's pretty fascinating to think of organisms that affect us so much, but we can't see them. That's amazing. Also fascinating to think of microbes living inside us that we cannot live without. Oh, and I want to also mention jokes. We put jokes into these books too because kids love jokes, as do I. I keep calling them dad jokes, but they're not. They're, mom jokes, any parent jokes. They're just jokes, fun jokes. Next slide, please. I'm going to zoom through these. Next slide, because I'm running out of time. Next slide. And insects, that was in the other picture book that we have. And you can just keep going on. Next slide. Again, jokes, fun facts, swarms of ants. It doesn't get better. There's a little flying elephant for you. Okay. Oh, and this is an activity page. We have the activities and fun facts and also photographs included in all of our picture books. And next slide, which I think is just a thank you slide. Thank you so much. Feel free to reach out with questions.
Thank you so much, Andy. Next, we'll hear from Jen Jensen. Jen is publisher of Bearport Publishing and has worked in the wonderful world of educational publishing for 29 years. She loves listening to your feedback and ideas to create new series for children to enjoy. She currently lives in Minnesota, where camping and ice fishing occupy her time outside of work. Thanks for being here today, Jen.
Thanks for having me, and welcome everyone. This is the fall 2024 list for Bearport, and everything you see here in this presentation is available in a guaranteed reinforced library binding and ebook format, and all of these books are in stock. Next slide, please. I'm going to start out with Bear Cub. This is our lowest imprint. It's for grades K through 1. It's 24 pages, and all include teaching tips. Next slide, please. Our first series we're going to dive into is A Watery World. And in this series, we dive into the world below the waves, where we explore the wonderful world of biology and earth science topics, but also look at human interaction with these environments and the role that we play in keeping them safe and healthy. The back matter in these look at one of the topics mentioned in the book, and for instance, how specific animals interact with tides and currents in the Tides and Currents book. Next slide, please. The next series is in animal coverings. In this series, we explore the features and purposes behind all of these fun coverings. For instance, how it helps keep creatures warm or cool, protected from predators with camouflage, printed or colorful to help find a mate. It's a wonderful way for fun animal content with a slightly different approach. The back matter in these is a close-up look at some cool examples of the tidal covering, for instance, curly fur that keeps an alpaca warm. Next slide, please. Then we're going to move into Fusion, and this is our bridge to nonfiction at the 2nd to 3rd grade reading level, includes illustrations. Next slide, please. Our first series in this imprint is all about instruments, one of my favorites. And we start these books out with an invite for the readers to join a band. First, we offer a quick review of the history of all the instruments, and then we offer an explanation of the science of how the tidal instrument types make sound. And then we explore some common and other less common instruments, including a flaming tuba, which is really cool. And we feature instruments that are from cultures around the world. We also feature professional musicians that play them. And lastly, we offer a look at the different types of musical groups that the readers could join with their newfound instrumental talents. It's a perfect way to learn at the intersection of science, art, and social studies. Next slide, please. Then we have biology field notes, where we're going to join animal experts, Anthony Hill, see what we did there, Ursula Major, etc. And they pass along all that they have learned in the form of their field notes, including observations about basic animal biology, like the body, the behavior, the habitats, food, special features of each animal. By the end of the book, our readers will be well on their way to becoming experts themselves if they keep exploring outside. It's just a fun and different format to give classic animal information. Next slide, please. This one is fun. It's too small to see. It's a fun, approachable, age-appropriate look at germs. Cute illustrated germs and kid scientists take fear away from a potentially challenging topic. The little germs are paired with some cute little speech bubbles, and they emphasize that germs are living things and that most can be helpful. For instance, we talk about germs that help our bodies digest food. Others, such as yeast, help the tasty bread that we eat rise, and then how to keep ourselves safe. So we cover washing hands, covering your mouth when sneezing or coughing, and wearing a mask. Next slide, please. Then we move into Create, and this is our hands-on learning imprint, and these are all 24 pages and include step-by-step instructions and lots of fun and creative topics. Next slide, please. This season, we have Manga Mania. We're very excited about this series this season. Each of these books introduce a bit about manga in the front and back matter, and at the heart of each book are learning to draw 5 different projects. The steps start at outlining, adding detail as you go, and finishing with color. Call-out text provides helpful hints on how to achieve success, or what techniques to use to bring your illustration or your drawing to life. There are also nonfiction features throughout, such as an intro to each project, which gives some context to the creature or art, and fast fact bursts throughout that give nonfiction context to the creatures being covered. It's a fun title grouping, topic of drawings, for instance, animals, dinosaurs, dragons, monsters, superheroes, and warriors. And we go from the intense to the cute and cuddly, like that little green dinosaur. Next slide, please. And then we go into our Bearport books, and this is a mixture of really fun topics that didn't quite fit into some of our set imprints, and we have a lot of fun in this area of our list. Next slide, please. First up is Military Careers. This is a series for our older readers who might be looking for looking to their futures. These are written at a 4th to 5th grade reading level. And they're 32 pages. And each of these books focuses on jobs within the branches of the United States military. Starts with a little bit of history on each of the branch. We offer a little bit of content about the action of basic training, and then we get into highlighting specific careers. We touch a little bit on expected careers such as pilots in the Air Force, but then we also offer up information on other kinds of jobs, high action jobs such as special ops teams, intelligence teams, We offer information on parachute riggers, engineers, doctors, chaplains, chefs. Just basically we let the readers know that there's a lot of different things besides the things that they think are like the pilots or, you know, that kind of thing. So whatever your interests are, there's something for you in the military. Next slide, please. She Who Dares is the next series, and these are a biography collection featuring women who have made an impact in their various fields. These are written at a 4th to 5th grade reading level, and they feature subjects from around the globe across time of various ages and races and abilities. And each spread-based bio will cover basic biography details, as well as what made these women extraordinary, engaging illustrations as well as actual images. And what I love about this series is that the women are both well-known and women that should be well-known but aren't, and we aim to change that. Next series, please, or next slide, please. We're going into Roar. This is our high-low imprint, our classic high-low. There's 3 different levels. Next slide, please. Our first is the lowest level, written at a 1st grade reading level, in Shark Files. They have an automatic appeal to our reluctant readers, and this series spotlights some of the coolest sharks. They give a quick overview of the diet, the body parts, and the life cycle. Next slide, please. Then we go into Totally Extreme Facts. This is going up a level. So these are written at 2nd to 3rd grade reading levels meant for 5th through 6th graders. And each book is designed to hit on the most high interest and extreme topics of these title categories, like underwater treasure, odd machines that help us move, and very chunk and spread based information, perfect for our reluctant readers. Next slide, please. And then we have Paranormal Life Cycles. This is our highest level, and these are written at a 3rd to 4th grade reading level. They're 32 pages, and they are for upper elementary to middle school. And they look at the life cycle of typical terrifying creatures. It's a fun way to put nonfiction spin on a super engaging topic. Next slide, please. And then we move into Silvertip books. These are our curricular high-low imprint. All of these have a dyslexic-friendly font and design. They're 32 pages, and the curriculum's taken off the middle school curriculum. Next slide, please. Our first series in this season is Ancient Civilizations Need to Know, and we cover different civilizations from around the world that have especially important and impactful history. We include the rise to prominence, including challenges of people first setting the region, the important movements, eras, and advancement over time. This content, we have a content consultant on all of these series in Silvertip, and this content consultant is especially attentive to cultural sensitivity, and he works in a school that is specifically for reluctant and challenging learners. Next slide, please. Earth Sciences Landforms is the next one, and this series piggybacks on one of our earliest Silvertip series, Geology, and it covers the formation of each tidal landform, often including tectonic plates or other Earth system changes. The back matter in all of our Silvertip books include an infographic that covers the topic in a very visual way, and then also test-taking tips. Next slide, please. And then we move into our newest imprint, Ursa. These are for middle schoolers, and the interest level is 5th through 8th. The reading level is around 6th grade. And you can change the slide again, thanks. Our first series is Space Revealed, encyclopedic style series talking about the incredible things on our planet and beyond. Stunning photography, it's amazing. We've made sure to include topics that keep this updated to the modern trends, space tourism, pushing the boundaries of the known universe, highly browsable and very visually appealing. Next slide, please. And then we have Marvels of Technology, and this is another encyclopedic style series talking about the tech that makes our lives easier. We've included explanations of things like eyeglasses and how they work, as well as smart glasses and how they're going to be used in the future. Nanotech, bioenergy, passenger drones that I would love to take to work. Wouldn't be Bearport without a spread on toilet technology. So this is a really great, high interest, interesting series for middle schoolers. And next slide. Our last series is Where You Dare Not Go. These are some really fun, spooky things. They feature sites around the world with horrifying histories, paranormal phenomenon, and sometimes petrifying going on. They're definitely aimed at an older middle, like an older upper elementary, middle school audience. A little bit darker topic than lower elementary, visually appealing. And they include a map plotting out the places where you dare not go. Next slide, please. And that's it. Thank you. There are more titles that I didn't get to. If you are interested in those, go to bearportpublishing.com and you can see everything that's new for the fall. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. Next, we'll hear from Maureen McMullen. Maureen is a marketing specialist for the group of publishers that make up Flutterbee. Her goal is to make it easy for librarians and educators to find the perfect book for every reader. In her free time, Maureen loves crocheting, riding her bike, and spoiling her cats. The floor is yours, Maureen.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm Maureen. I'm a marketing specialist with Bellwether. So on the next slide, we will get started with Blast Off Beginners. These support the earliest readers at a kindergarten reading level. And the next slide, we will start with community workers. So in this new series, we'll learn about how different professionals contribute to our communities. There's simple text and full color photos that help show readers what each worker does in a day and why their job is important. So on the next slide, we'll see a fact page that highlights the tools and duties of each worker with info like, as we see here, there are doctors that wear white coats, masks, and gloves. And on the next slide, we will move on to Blast Off readers. So these are 3 levels of books spanning grades 1 to 3. So starting off with level 1 on the next slide, we have Who is Cuter? So get ready for some cuteness aggression. In these books, we'll look at the differences between different sets of baby animals with side-by-side photos for comparison. So we'll see those on the next slide. These photos have readers compare, they compare on their own. So we'll learn that ducklings have rounded bills while chicks have a pointed beak. And we do currently have a poll on the Bellwether website, so readers can vote for the animals they think are the cutest, and we will post our findings in a very scientific way. Moving on to level 2 on the next page, which is a 1st to 2nd grade reading level, we have slithering snakes. So from venomous vipers to coiling constrictors, the snakes in this series are sure to entice young readers. And each book covers a snake's body parts, their habitats, hunting behaviors, and more. Next slide. We'll learn some fun facts about snakes, such as anacondas can weigh more than 500 pounds, and a king cobra's venom is strong enough to take down an elephant. And then on the next slide, we have level 3 at a 2nd to 3rd grade reading level. We have animal engineers. So this will take beginning readers on a journey through some of the ways that animals build some of nature's most spectacular structures. We'll learn about how animals plan and build these structures and how their work impacts the environment. So on the next slide, excuse me, we'll see there are special features that highlights an animal's building materials, also the animal's range. So for example, in the spiders book, we'll learn about how spiders use silk along with rocks and walls and plants to build their webs. Next slide. Blast Off Discovery builds on the skills acquired in Blast Off readers, but continues it at a 4th grade reading level. On the next slide, we have our new series, River Adventures. So this takes readers on a journey along 6 famous rivers throughout the world, and it explores each river's major landmarks and activities. We'll learn about why the river is important to the wildlife and the humans who live nearby, and there are tons of fun facts, like the Amazon River is 4,000 miles long, and that's actually the distance between Rome and New York. Next slide, we have a spread from River Adventures. Sorry, it's taking a while. So we can see some of the special features. And then on to Epic. Oh, I'm sorry, we can move on to Epic. Sorry. This is an action-packed high-low imprint for grades 3 through 7, written at a 2nd grade reading level. On the next slide, we have Ice Age animals. This series is full of animals that I had no idea ever existed. They're totally fascinating, like dire wolves. I didn't realize that was real outside of Game of Thrones. But these books include detailed illustrations that show each animal's body parts, behaviors, interactions with early humans, and more. On the next slide, there are lots of labeled diagrams, so we'll learn what they ate and how big they were compared to their modern day relatives. A fun fact from these books is that Irish elk had antlers that were up to 12 feet wide, and that is the record of antler span. On the next slide, we have Torque, which is our ultra high interest imprint with a lower reading level. It appeals to readers in grades 3 through 7, written at a second grade reading level. And our first series for Torque is Armed Forces of the U.S. So this explores the 5 branches of the military in the U.S. and the responsibilities of military personnel during peacetime and war. Next slide, please. So the special features in this series include profiles on some important missions that each branch has taken on. So for example, the US Air Force piloted an MQ-9 Reaper drone to look at the wildfires in California and evaluate those situations. These profiles also include notable members such as General Daniel Chappie James Jr., the first black man to become a 4-star general in any branch. And I believe he was an airman. And then Admiral Linda Fagan, the first female commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard. And on the next slide, we have soccer leagues. This is a really exciting series, especially for sports fans. So they feature narrative openings that really pull readers into the soccer match for each league. Next slide. So we'll learn about each team's history and founding members, their playoff relegation systems, top players on each league. And then their features also include a timeline of major events for each league, stats, and records. So a fun fact from this series is that in La Liga, we'll learn that Barcelona's league boasts the largest stadium in Europe. It has a 90,000 person capacity. Next slide. We have Mysterious Nature, which introduces some of our planet's most amazing natural phenomena. And we'll learn how each phenomenon has been explained across cultures and time periods. And then we'll dive into the scientific explanations we have today. Next slide, please. So there are lots of additional features that explore other phenomena that are related to the one featured, but kind of exploring some of the differences. So for example, in singing sand dunes, we learn that the dunes emit a deep hum or even a horn noise. Some people have described it as a burp noise. And we can kind of witness the same thing if we're walking on a sandy beach. Sometimes your footsteps can make a small squeak as the grains of sand rub against each other. On the next slide, our final series for Bellwether is Black Sheep, or our final imprint, excuse me, is Black Sheep. These are true stories told in a graphic novel format with a reading level of grades 2 through 4. Next slide, please. Our Black Sheep series for this season is Top Secret Spy Stories, so we will go undercover with some of history's greatest spies and learn historical information about their missions. These books include detailed illustrations and dialogue that features actual quotes that kind of help tell these incredible stories from each spy's own words. They include back matter such as timelines, maps, and additional facts. And some of the spies featured include Josephine Baker, who was an internationally renowned actress and singer, and she was also a top spy for France during World War II. And as well as Christine Granville, who some people say Winston Churchill called his favorite spy. And next. Here is a spread from the Harriet Tubman book. So you can kind of see the cool comic format along with the actual quotes that are in red text. Next slide. Again, I'm Maureen McMullen. All of these series are available on our website, bellwethermedia.com, along with tons of others. We have so many great series to check out this season, but thank you for your time to learn about our new ones. I will hand it off to Laura.
Thank you, Maureen. Yes, and next we'll hear from Laura Villano. Laura is based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She loves being a part of a team that creates amazing books for young readers. When she isn't sharing her love of books with librarians, she spends her time chasing her very busy 1-year-old and enjoying the outdoors. Take it away, Laura.
Thanks so much, Julia. Hi, everybody. So great to be here and share all the latest from Jump and Kaleidoscope books. All the titles that I'm featuring today are available now. If you want to flip to the next slide, please. I'm going to start with our lowest level imprint from Jump, which is our Tadpole Books imprint. It's written at a preschool reading level, features high frequency words, consistent text placement, great photo to text match, and we have Count With Me. These super cute counting books feature fun settings and objects for readers to count. Each book either counts forward or backward from 10. Sample text is like 1, 2, 3, count with me. 1 barn is on the farm, 2 farmers work, 3 dogs chase, 4 pigs roll in the mud, 5 sheep sleep. So they're seeing the text, they're seeing the numbers numerically, they're seeing it in the objects, and they're seeing it written in the text. Next slide, please. Next up, we have World Around Us. I love this series. It has a lovely global feel here where we're introducing our homes, the earth, our neighborhood, and towns and cities all over the world, introducing readers to that big wide world around them, what it can look like, how different kinds of homes, there are different kinds of homes that people live in, different small towns versus big cities, and really what makes up our earth. Next slide, please. Moving on to our narrative nonfiction imprint with Grasshopper. This comes at 3 levels. For this season that we're featuring is Adventures in History, which is the 3rd, level 3 with Grasshopper, written at a 2nd grade reading level. This is a super fun action-packed narrative nonfiction biography series that brings readers back in time to learn about 4 famous adventures and their exciting exploits. Each book dives right into the action, drawing readers in. The text is packed full of factual details, as is the art. I don't know if you can see it on the smaller screen, but Charles Darwin is in fact a lefty. He and I share that in common. And we join Charles Darwin as he studies animals in the Galapagos and forms his groundbreaking theory on evolution. We'll take a journey to space with Neil Armstrong as he becomes the first person to walk on the moon, or hop on a plane with Amelia Earhart. Next slide, please. Moving on to our Bullfrog imprint. This is our introductory nonfiction imprint written at a kindergarten reading level. It's a graduation from that Tadpole book. It also sits right before those amazing Bear Cub books that Jen showed you earlier today. So we have you covered with that low-level nonfiction. We're looking at North American birds. I love these books. I love the quail cover. It's my new favorite. But we're really bringing to life common birds that readers might see in their backyards or in their neighborhoods. We highlight the identifying features like that plume on that quail, their diets, their habitat behaviors, including their nesting and raising their young. Great for interested readers who love bird watching, curious about birds that might live in their area. And there's a labeled body part diagram on the back of these as well. Next slide, please. We went all in on animals within Bullfrog this season, and we're looking at gross animals. This is also available in Spanish. These are legitimately gross, perfect for kids who like the ick factor. We dive right into these gross animals like slimy or stinky ones and their behaviors like disgusting eating habits. We feature a parasite that eats a fish's tongue and replaces it, just lives there. Or we talk about parrotfishes that make mucus bubbles for protection, hyenas eating dead animals, vampire bats drinking cow blood. And then in the back matter of these, we categorize the reasoning for the gross trait or behavior. Like, are they doing it for defense just to be cool? Are they hunting prey, marking territory? Or they just want to be gross? Next slide, please. More animals, record-breaking animals, super fun to highlight the most extreme in the animal kingdom, from the biggest to the fastest. Great comparisons that provide easily digestible comparisons. So when we're talking about how fast a falcon is, we're comparing it to the speed of a race car rather than talking about the actual speed, something that maybe might not be as engaging for readers. We also talk about high and why they've adapted in the wild this way. Like a giraffe's tall neck, why is it so tall? And then there's a comparison graph in the back of these that talks about, is it the speeds and they compare it to each other, or is it size and they're comparing it to each other, and then they compare it to a common factor across all of them. So in the size one, they compare it to the height of an average child. Next slide, please. And we're moving on and up into our POGO imprint, where we feature STEM and social studies topics written at a second grade reading level. All of our POGO titles are chapter-based. There's 3 chapters, great nonfiction features, and there's always an activity or experiment in the back of the books. There's infographics and features, whether it's asking thoughtful questions or providing additional facts throughout. And we have the right to vote. What a timely series here. This is very informative. We dive into the struggles and successes of women, Black Americans, Asian Americans, and American Indians that have faced in their fight for the right to vote. In the first chapter, we talk about what voting is and how to do it and why this practice is essential for a thriving U.S. democracy. And then we narrow the focus down in the additional chapters to provide historical facts and explain the setbacks and successes the group has encountered and why. And then we dive into the final chapter and we talk about the struggle, the issues that the group still faces today and what they're doing to continue to fight for civil rights. The authors of this series are members of the groups that they're writing about. So we have authentic voices here and ensuring accuracy and sensitivity. And each book has a timeline in the back matter that highlights critical points in history from each of the group's voting rights. Next slide, please. And then we have history of sports. This is a super fun look back in time as to how these sports some of our favorite sports have evolved into what we play today. The black and white images in contrast with photos from today make this super engaging and fun. We talk about hockey being played on frozen rivers, lakes, and ponds with no padding or protection, and skates that had shoes in the bottom of, or nails on the bottom of shoes rather than skates. And we contrast that to fan pack arenas with state-of-the-art equipment and gear. Great timelines noting and also famous players, both male and female, and famous big championships like Super Bowls or Olympics. Next slide, please. And then we have trade careers. This series introduces readers to various trade careers and what a day in the life look like. Like an electrician might fix a circuit breaker one day, they might be replacing light fixtures the next, or they're in my attic moving my modem before my child is born, so it's not in his room. We also dive into the education and training required to discuss the safety equipment and precautions. And we have content consultants in the fields ensuring accuracy of text and images in this one. Next slide, please. And that's the highlights from our Jump imprint. And then I'm moving on to our Jump brand. There's more online, but I'm going to talk about Kaleidoscope here quick with my last little bit of time. We're going to look at Bigfoot Junior. This is reading level grade 1, great, helping readers really dive in to their favorite topics and in improving their information literacy skills. You can, next slide, please. And we also do some big hitting topics here, and we have some really fresh copyrights, which makes it great additions to your collections. Fantastic 5 senses. Basic introduction to the 5 senses. You can move to the next slide, please. There's a diagram where we feature where in our bodies or how this is related in our bodies. There's a try it section with an easy activity to help reinforce the content that they're learning. So maybe the activity is close your eyes for a certain set of time, 10, 15 seconds, and then open them and see what happens to your pupils. Next slide, please. We have holiday wonders, again, some perennial favorites here where we're looking at the history of these holidays, the origin, and fun facts throughout that feature fun traditions surrounding these holidays and a craft included, which is my favorite part. Next slide, please, that we include fun activities to engage in with these holidays. Next slide, please. And moving on to Bigfoot books, so we're jumping up to that 3rd grade reading level. My favorite feature, besides all the great information that's jam-packed in here, is that there is literally a Bigfoot in every one of the pages that you can find in each spread, which really kind of reinforces the concepts of diving into these topics and brings great conversation to a group. Next slide, please. Next slide. And we have Animal Showdowns. This is a new series, higher level than the animal battles you might be familiar with from our friends at Bellwether Media. These are 32 pages instead of 24. Narrative nonfiction here. Great highlights of, we have a showdown, like an announcer welcoming you to the showdown between these two animals. Great size comparison, range maps, and a scoreboard keeping track throughout. Next slide, please. Very engaging and digestible text featuring these amazing animals. Next slide, please. And we have animals in danger. This is focusing, it's a unique focus on biomes. So we're looking at animals in danger in the Arctic, desert, grassland, mountains, oceans, and rainforests. We profile the animals in these biomes and their behavior. We feature infographics that explain the biomes and maps that showcase where these biomes exist in the world and the impact of these animals in those biomes. Next slide, please. And next slide, last but certainly not least, oh, that's not last. It's exploring hobbies. We have two more. We're introducing different hobbies, jobs related to these hobbies. You can go to the next slide, and tools and equipment needed to enjoy these amazing hobbies. It's a great deep dive, things that you maybe wouldn't think about and when you're looking at, and also now I just want to eat a chocolate chip cookie. I'm totally distracted. That looks delicious. Next slide, please. And I haven't had lunch. Scary Stories is last up for us. Each book includes 3 creepy experiences people claim to have had. There's great design here that gives it that creepy, spooky feel, great for the time of year right now, and fun, creepy facts included throughout. Like 90 million people in America claim to have seen a ghost. I can tell you that I thought I saw an alien this weekend, but turns out it wasn't a ghost either. But next slide, please. Give you a snapshot of an interior spread. And with that, we are done, and I'm going to pass it back to Julia.
Thank you, Laura. Finally, we will hear from Anna Erickson. Anna has worked in the children's book publishing world for over 25 years and is stubbornly convinced that all children deserve access to high-quality reading material. She is based in Oakland, California. Thanks for joining us today, Anna.
Thank you, Julia. It's great to be here with everyone. The only downside is we don't all have chocolate chip cookies in front of us. Laura, I think it should be a thing. Okay, so we're kicking it off with creative education today, and we're going to run through the fall 24 list for creative, and then next look at a new imprint from Black Rabbit Books. But starting with creative. Creative, as many of you know, do books all the way for pre-K to high school. It's a full range of books. It's really a list for readers who love books, so there are real options within it for high, low, and striving readers also. Starting out is the youngest series that we currently do. These are great little 16-page books for pre-K kindergarten. And the nice thing about these is they use a first-person perspective. So there's just a kind of certain immediacy, and they make great little read-alouds or read with. A small one has all of the key features of informational text, but done in a friendly way for the youngest readers. Marvels is a new program that we started this season that tackles traditional topics with a little bit of spin, and that Marvels name gives you the clue. These have a tip of the hat to the world of comics, and you see that even in the covers. But once you get inside the books, for example, in the vehicle set, you see a very straightforward text, but with a little extra. You get speech bubbles all the way through, so that the topic at hand is given a chance to comment, often with a little sense of humor, on the situation or their abilities or you name it. So a fun little add-on for both the big machinery as well as a full set of Marvel's animals. Marvels will be an ongoing program, and they'll all have these little extras built in. All of these books that we're looking at today are available in library bound hardcover. Most of them are also available in Spanish. All are available in paperback, as well as ebook formats. Amazing. Many of you know the Amazing brand from Amazing Animals, and I just want to give a shout out that we'll have a new set of Amazing Animals in spring 25. But for fall, we have Amazing Wonders, in which we travel around the world to visit not just 7, but 8 wonders of the world in all of their glory, but using that trademark amazing format, which is geared primarily for the 2nd grade readers, but just through the use of a generous amount of white space and a really elegant design. Elegance not necessarily a word you think of with, series nonfiction for second grade, but I think there's some truth in it. These books are appealing and accessible and exciting to enjoy. Look is a new program this season, and we're tackling life cycles for a range of plants and vegetables and the like. These are books designed for third graders, and they too have that trademark creative feel, which is distinguished by great image selection, a really lovely, clean design, and a kind of a literary text, so a text that tells a story, even when it's nonfiction. Also, for the third grade level, we have a fully refreshed set of NFL Today. So these are a book for every team in the NFL. These are fully updated through the last season, and they give you the lowdown on not only top, pivotal games, but also top players, coaching staff, and just the evolution of each team and all of the cities that they've played in. Those great images we talk about, they really come to the fore in this type of book where you're just sucked into this world. They're great books for fans, but also just fun reading for anybody who likes a good story. We have a selection, I just want to mention, of this series that's available in Spanish because of the timeliness of these. They have to be held to the very last minute before going to press, and it's difficult to translate all 30 books that quickly. So we've picked 8 to translate for Spanish this season. As we move up the grade ranges, we get to Spotlight on Nature, which are just eye-dropping single subject animal books for the 4th grade level and up. These are beautiful books. Again, that combination of image and design is meant to really pull you in and give you a lot of information and a narrative story to go along with it. So as there are fewer and fewer single subject animal books for the older kids, we're really pleased to have this ongoing series, Spotlight on Nature. New this season is National Parks. These are 10 beautiful books that feature our most popular American national parks. These are books written for the 5th grade level and up, and they give you the full experience of what you would expect if you were visiting the park or simply reading about it. So you get the geology, the history, the natural science, as well as just the activities that you could participate in as a visitor. And then moving further on up the reading level, we come to Living in America. This is also a new series, and this is tackling 8 hot topics today. These are for the 5th grade level as well. These are, again, tough topics and dealt with in a really even-handed in a really even-handed way. There's a good number of graphics, again, always a good number of photographs, even as we get into the higher reading levels. And what I particularly appreciated about this set was just notes of hope that ran through each title. So even though they are dealing with tough topics, they find ways to look at positive outcomes as well as the challenges. And then on up to the high school level, we get to the Odysseys program. Odysseys is a popular long-running series that serves the high school folks. And like everything creative does, they are beautifully photographed. So these are books that, even though they're for older kids, don't skimp on the look of the beautiful design and the beautiful images. All right, and now before we sign off today, I want to look at a new imprint from Black Rabbit Books. Black Rabbit is one of our sister companies. And this new imprint is called Top Rank. Black Rabbit has a mission to serve striving readers in different ways. And one of the ways they're doing that is with this new Top Rank program, which uses a collection of stories, in this case for Top Rank, the list, 6 stories that are written at the 3rd grade level, but with a very broad interest range. So you can see that interest range extends up to the 6th grade. These are 24-page books, and they serve a range of topics, both high interest as well as more curricular. But the thing about these books is that each chapter stands alone. You can dip in and read a single chapter and complete a story. Dip back again and read them chapters in order, read them back to front. It doesn't matter. They are all related, but they are standalone units. So you get a sense of accomplishment and completion from a single chapter. Design Marvels takes us into the more curricular topics, as does Healthy and Happy. Now, where it gets really interesting is where Top Rank moves into the in-depth program. Here, they're featuring 12 stories in a 48-page format written at a 4th grade level with an interest range that extends to 8th grade. So these are weighty topics, but they're still written at that accessible 4th grade level, and they're still presented one chapter at a time. So you can dip in, read a chapter, complete the experience, and then come back whenever you're ready to tackle the next one. So look for an ongoing program on Top Rank. Again, these will be, more meaty topics, and with these covers that look really, these are for big kids, even though they're written below level. So we're excited to bring those to the page. All right, thanks so much, Julia. We appreciate being with you here today and look forward to a great season.
Thanks, Anna, and a big thank you to all of today's presenters. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view an archive of past webinars and register for upcoming ones, like those you see here. Attention all library workers, educators, booksellers, and students. We have a special subscription offer exclusive to webinar attendees. Subscribe to Booklist now and stay on top of the latest books, glean readers' advisory guidance, and get collection development advice through print and digital editions of Booklist and access to Booklist Online. Plus, our Booklist subscription now comes with free digital and shareable copies of our new product for patrons, Booklist Reader. Scan the QR code or visit our website for more details. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and one more huge thank you to our panelists and to our sponsors, Nomad Press, Bearport, Bellwether, Jump, Kaleidoscope, and the Creative Company. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.